In this video, we got another episode of this series where I rate and improve your guys' teams. You guys will send me your teams on Twitter at xevantanaka, and I'll give you guys my best suggestions for your squad to help improve it, and then give you guys my rating 1 through 10. Could be a 6, a 7, 8, a 9, or 10, whatever I do think about your squad. Also, if you guys want to comment down below on the YouTube video, let me know what your squad's looking like right now and how much MT you guys have, and I'll give you guys my best suggestions and my rating 1 through 10 in the YouTube comment section down below. But looking at the first team here, coming in from Joe, he almost has AD and he has 211,000 MT. So let's just say you get Anthony Davis. I would start him at the power forward position and have Worthy off the bench. Now, you could make an upgrade of getting a guy like Kareem over a guy like Joel Embiid, but that's going to take up all your MT. So if you wanted to do that, you need to have a lot more MT to upgrade the rest of your team. So I'm going to keep Joel Embiid in there for now. And what I would do for the backup small forward position is 1000% get that diamond Rudy Gay. I'm not exactly sure how much he's going for. I think last time I checked, he was around 50 to 60k. Might be a little bit cheaper, might be a little bit more expensive, but make sure you get that diamond Rudy Gay for the backup small forward spot. Also, rating 1 through 10, I would say before I make any suggestions or upgrades, I would say it's probably a solid 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5. So the first thing I would do is get Rudy Gay over Andrew Wiggins. I will take about 50,000 MT. And then for your backup point guard spot, I would look to get either one of these guys, John Wall, Gary Payton, or maybe go after a guy like Penny Hardaway if you want to save up for a lot more MT. But I'd say John Wall and Gary Payton are both going to be in your price range that are going to be way better as a backup point guard than a guy like Magic Johnson. For me personally, in this lineup, I would go for a guy like Gary Payton. So your bench could be GP, Eddie Jones, Rudy Gay, Sean Kemp, and Joel Embiid. Those are going to be my best suggestions for your squad. And overall, I think it's going to be an 8 out of 10 before I do make the upgrades. Looking at the next team here, coming in from Cat, he's got 500,000 MT and he does play on next gen. Looking at his squad, it's going to be kind of a little bit of a Nets theme team. I mean, he's obviously a Cat fan, so I'm not going to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns at that power forward spot. Off the bench, I do like Russ. I don't know why you have De'Aaron Fox over a guy like Russ. I think the bench is actually almost better than the starting lineup, which is kind of crazy. So for me, I would obviously start Giannis, but I do think you like running Cat at that power forward spot. For me though, I would say Rudy Gay has to be in this lineup 1000%. First off, we got to do the rating 1 through 10. I probably give it a 7 out of 10 for the rating. First thing, like I said though, Rudy Gay has to be somewhere in this squad. Whether you want to start him and then have Ben Simmons off the bench, or you just want to play him at that backup small forward spot, 1000% has to play in this lineup. For me, I would start Rudy Gay and then have Ben Simmons at the backup small forward spot. For the centers, I like Kristaps and I like Dwight Howard. And then for your power forwards, I think it's fine because I know you're a Cat fan and Giannis is a really good backup power forward. Small forwards are good, right? Run Rudy Gay, run Ben Simmons. For your shooting guards, there is a couple suggestions you could make. I mean, you do have 500,000 MT, so you could spend a decent amount of that and go ahead and get yourself a Ricky Davis, a Ray Allen, one of those really good shooting guards. I would recommend at least getting one of those guys. I think Ricky Davis is the guy to go get. If you want to save a little bit of MT, maybe get a guy like Ray Allen, and then he can be your starting shooting guard. I like Kobe off the bench. I think he's going to be a solid backup shooting guard. And if you want to bring Ant off the bench instead of Kobe, you can definitely do so as well. But after you make those suggestions, I think the squad could be like an 8 out of 10, maybe even an 8.5. Pretty good team though overall. Like I said, probably give it starting off at a 7 out of 10. Looking at the next team here, coming in from Avatar, he's got 359,000 MT, and he's got a very good lineup, at least starting lineup wise. I do think it's pretty good. Derrick Rose, I think, is probably got to go in your lineup if you got close to 400,000 MT. For me, I see two kind of weak points in the lineup, and that's going to be Derrick Rose and Derrick Rose and Kevin McHale. So for the point guard spot, I did recommend these 2 point guards before, but I think John Wall and Gary Payton are both going to be really, really good options. I would actually consider going with a guy like John Wall over a guy like Gary Payton for this starting lineup, because you got Jimmy Butler, who's a great defender. You got James Worthy, who's more defensive orientated. Like, you don't really have any like ball handlers or any guys that can score the ball really well. So I would go for John Wall as your starting point guard. Rating out of 10 before I do make any upgrades though, I would say probably an 8 to maybe 8. I'd probably give this an 8.5 out of 10. All around going to be a very solid squad. But like I said, first suggestion would be get John Wall for about 150,000 MT, leaving yourself with about 200,000 left to spend. I like your centers. I like your small forwards. I think your shooting guards are solid. And I think you could maybe get a guy like Marbury over Caruso, but that really comes down to preference of who you you like more. I think De'Aaron Fox and Marbury and even DeJounte Murray are better point guards than Caruso, but if you like Caruso more than those guys, you can obviously run him as your backup point guard. For me, it just really comes down to the shooting guard spot, and if we're spending 150,000 MT, you're gonna have 200,000 MT left over, and you can get yourself a Ricky Davis if you want to upgrade the shooting guard spot over Eddie Jones, or you can look for a power forward who I'm not exactly sure to go with because there's not too many great power forwards. I think even a Diamond Giannis could be really nice for your squad, and then maybe start Kareem over a guy like Kristaps, and then if Kristaps off the bench, because KP and Giannis are really well play really well together, so you could have AD at your starting power forward and Kareem at your starting center, and then off the bench you could run Diamond Giannis at the backup 4 with KP at the backup 5. So those are kind of my suggestions. I think if you do that, this squad will become a lot better. But looking at the next team here coming in from Luke, he's got 350,000 MT. He's also going to get Dr. J this season, so I'm not going to count Dr. J in this lineup, but if he were, obviously you would start him and then have Ricky Davis off the bench. Looking at this team, I would say for rating out of 10, probably the best team you've seen so far, so I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. I think it's not very close to the best team in the game, but I do think it's a very well-rounded squad. And for me, I only see really one weak flaw, and that's going to be the power forward spot with Kevin McHale. Now I know I just recommended him for somebody else, and then you guys are kind of in the same scenario. You can get Diamond Giannis, start Kareem, and then have KP off the bench. For me, that would be the best upgrade for this lineup. Because like I said, for the other guy, Anthony Davis and Kareem play really well together, and KP and Giannis play really well together as well. I think other than that, there's really no suggestions to be made for the squad. I like Russ. I love Marbury. I like your shooting guards. Allen Houston is actually an underrated beast, man. Like that Allen Houston card is actually a really good shooting guard. I think your small forwards are good enough, Worthy and Jimmy Butler. Like I said, if you get Diamond Giannis off the bench, you can run Giannis and KP at the back of 4 and 5. I think they complement each other perfectly, and they're going to be a really good front court duo. And then at the starting lineup, you could have Anthony Davis and Kareem, who we all know are going to play really well together. But overall, a very good starting squad. Like I said, probably a 9 out of 10. Looking at the next team here coming in from Top Half Bill, and he's got 200,000 MT to work with. Looking at his team, I mean, right away we can see the Diamond Giannis and the Chris Middleton duo. I'm not the biggest fan of Middleton, but if you want to run it, I'm definitely not going to tell you not to, because if you like Middleton and you go with the card, I mean, this Giannis becomes literally the pink diamond, like damn near identical to his actual pink diamond card, which is a really cool addition that 2K did give. So I'd say for your starting lineup, I'm not the biggest fan of having Giannis at that center spot. For me personally, what I would do is I know this might sound crazy to say, but I'm gonna move Ricky Davis to the backup 2. I'm gonna slide Paul George to the small forward position and slide Giannis to power forward. Now for our center, we are gonna pick up Diamond KP. He's about 50,000 MT, maybe 60,000. He's gonna be an amazing center, probably the second best center in the game right now. And like I said about Giannis, him and Giannis are play super well together. And then if you move Ricky to the bench, that means you're gonna have a great backup shooting guard that can carry the load off the bench with some, like literally with some really good defenders around him. He's got Caruso, Ron Artest, and OG around him, who are going to be great wing defenders and just great defenders overall, and Ricky Davis can definitely carry that bench. Now I would maybe look to get a better power forward off the bench than a guy like OG Anunoby. Even if you want to play a guy like Ben Simmons, or you want to play a guy like Al Horford, I do think they'd probably be better than a guy like OG at that power forward position. And then you maybe want to move OG to the 3 over Ron Artest, but Ron Artest is probably better. So I'd say 50,000 MT definitely to get KP, move Paul George to the 3, and move Giannis to the 4. And then if you want to spend some extra MT left over, you want to make the best possible team you can with 200,000 MT, I would probably recommend once again getting a guy like Gary Payton or getting a guy like John Wall to run with Ricky Davis off the bench. I think if you make those suggestions, I don't think I'd give this team a rating out of 10. I'd probably say it's going to be an 8.5 before the upgrades, maybe an 8 to 8.5. I think once you make those changes, that this squad is definitely going to be a 9 out of 10. Looking at the next team here coming in from KJ or Kelvin John, he's got 150,000 MT and he hasn't touched season 3 yet, so a pretty decent team for not playing much in season 3 so far. I would say your main weak points, probably the backup center and maybe your point guard position. So I'd say with 150,000 MT, first off, got to give the rating, I'd probably go 8 out of 10. Definitely going to be a very solid squad. I'm not sure if I like Kevin Durant at that power forward position, but I think you kind of have to run him with your power forwards and small forwards. I would maybe consider putting KD to the bench. Actually, nobody's beside Hakeem. You know, I don't mind that. I really don't mind your starting lineup with 150,000 MT. I think maybe getting a guy like Marbury could be better than DeJounte Murray, but if you want to run a DeJounte Murray, I think he's definitely going to be fine. I would say for this squad, KP definitely has to be in this lineup. Putting him at the backup center over a guy like Joel Embiid, I do think it's going to be a pretty big update upgrade, I should say. I do think KP is a good amount better than Embiid. And then other than that, I don't think there's too many suggestions you can make. Maybe look for a better point guard like a John Wall or a Gary Payton. But yeah, other than that, maybe look for a Diamond Giannis, could fit in this lineup somewhere. But I would say just get yourself a Diamond KP to play over Joel, and that's going to be pretty much it for this lineup. You could also maybe try to get a guy like Ray Allen to play over Eddie Jones as well. But like I said, going to be a very solid team. And then last team here, guys, comes in from Cal. He's got 800,000 MT and another very good squad. The one suggestion that I can see right away is having a guy like Magic Johnson is really nice to have, but in your starting lineup, I don't see a primary ball handler. So what I would consider is getting rid of Magic Johnson and putting Russell Westbrook at that starting point guard spot. Now, if you like Magic a lot, obviously keep him. I'm sure you go with him if he's on your starting lineup. But for me personally, what I would do for suggestions is he has 25. Oh no, it's AD has 25 hops. So I'd move Russ to the starting point guard for me in my lineup personally, right? So I'd move Russ to the point guard position over a guy like Magic, and that's going to put you over 1 million MT. So you're gonna have a lot more to work with as well. For your center spot, 1000% get Kareem and get KP as well. I think they're the best and second best center in the game. So you can start Kareem with Anthony Davis and then have KP with Josh Smith off the bench. And then if you make those suggestions right there, you move Russ to the point guard spot, you get yourself an elite ball handler and elite scorer on the starting lineup, and then you get Kareem for the starting center and you get KP for the backup center. You made 3 upgrades, and I think the team is already probably like a 9 to maybe even 9.5 out of 10. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, make sure to comment down below your teams and how much MT you guys have, and I'll give you guys my best suggestions and my rating 1 through 10. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.